Okay, good afternoon. It is October 13th, approximately 4 o'clock. I'd like to go ahead and call the Children's Trust of Alachua County's regular meeting to order. The mission of the Children's Trust of Alachua County is to fund and support a coordinated system of community services that allows all youth and okay.
If that's going, y'all gonna lose me.
Testing, we good? Yeah. Okay, the mission of the Children's Trust of Alachua County is to fund and support a coordinated system of community services that allow all youth and their families to thrive. Any members of the public wishing to be heard shall come forward to the podium at the appropriate time, introduce themselves to the board. Members of the public recognized by the chair will have 3 minutes to speak on a single subject matter or to address the current motion on the floor. The clerk of the trust will function as the official timekeeper. For those of you that are new, if you'll just speak through the chair during the meeting, that would be great. Please be reminded our policy prohibits unplanned funding requests from the podium. Should a member of the public wish to make a funding request, we ask that you please contact our executive director, Marcia Kiner, and her staff for consideration. The clerk now will call the roll and verify that at least 5 members of the trust are physically present for today's meeting. 4 members are asked to speak directly into the microphone. If you'll remember, if you'll just pick that microphone up, speak into it, put it down, the people at home will be able to hear you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Sure. Member Tina Surton.
Here.
Member Mary Chance.
Here.
Chair Ken Cornell.
Here.
Dr. Nancy Hart. Dr. Maggie Labarda, Treasurer.
Here.
Dr. Kamala Patton, Member. Member Lee Pinkeson.
Here.
Vice Chair Cheryl Twombly.
Here.
Honorable Suzanne Wilson Bullard, Member.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So let the record reflect, we've got a quorum. We've got 7 members here in person. And I don't see Dr. Hart online, so she will not be online. Okay, so we've got a quorum. I will now ask for a motion to approve the agenda. Before we do that, though, I would ask the maker of the motion if we could move gun violence initiative, which is number 14, to just before the chair's report. We can call that 11.5. They have a number of things that they have to get to with the Alliance, and I'd like to address that first. And then I have a little bit of stuff I want to talk to about the chair report, which could be extended, and we can, if they're welcome to stay for that, but there's a number of folks from the city. So if we could do that one before the chair report.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda with the modification. Is there any discussion to the motion? Anyone from the public wish to address the motion on the floor? Bring it back to the board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And that includes the consent agenda?
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed? Okay, show that motion as passing unanimously. Thank you, members. Okay, first item is general public comment. We give our public 2 opportunities to address this board, one at the beginning of the meeting, one at the end. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to address the board on anything not on the agenda? We'll give everyone a chance to speak on the agenda items. Not see a rush to the podium. Going once, going twice. Okay, let's go ahead and close the initial public comment period. All right, so the first item is the Gun Violence Initiative, City of Gainesville's response to our chair letter. This was previously provided to the board. We've received a bunch of stuff in our backup. No action is needed. Director Kiner, you want to go ahead and frame this one, and then we'll go ahead and begin.
Certainly. Thank you, Chair Cornell. If you all will remember at our August meeting, there was some discussion about the gun violence initiatives. Several questions were raised. We put those into a letter from our chair to the city of Gainesville, to City Manager Curry, asked for a response and invited them to attend today's meeting. So at this time, we can turn it over to City Manager Curry if you would like to come forward.
Great.
Back over to you.
Manager Curry, thank you for being here. Before you speak, though, if I could just make a couple of comments. Yeah, I've been involved as a county commissioner in this from the moment the county commission declared that we had a local public health emergency. And this was after the city of Gainesville had made that declaration. They actually brought it to us. We made that declaration. We put some funds aside and the city really began taking the lead in these initiatives. We've had a number of meetings at the county. We've had meetings with the city. We've had joint meetings at the county, joint meetings at the city. An alliance was formed. And I just want to say, for the record, as the Children's Trust Chair now, that there has not been another institution that has done more for gun violence than the city of Gainesville and their staff. I know that when it comes to funding, a lot of dollars are provided and there's a lot of information in the backup. But I will tell you that when it comes to the dollars that don't show up, staff time, coordination with different groups around the community, the city of Gainesville is really taking the lead. I'm grateful for that. And I know that sometimes when you send letters or things in the mail, things don't get interpreted correctly. But before you present, Madam Curry, I just wanted to make sure that I stated that for the record. I've said that at the county commission. I've said it here. This board is very interested in outcomes. We've got subject matter experts from mental health to juvenile detention, so just all across the board. And so thank you for taking the time to address the questions that we asked and for being here today. That I'll turn it over to Manager Curry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a pleasure being here today. We did receive the letter from the chair.
Pull that microphone up. I'm sorry. Sometimes, is there a microphone?
This-
Yeah, if you'll
this-
just pull it up and just kind of hold it, Manager Curry. At home, they can't hear. And
Okay. But again, thank you. This is an opportunity. It's the first time I've had an opportunity to actually speak before the trust. I am joined today by Chief Hillhouse, our fire chief, along with Brandy Stone and Brittany Coleman, both very intimately involved in our gun violence prevention programming. As you mentioned, the city has been engaged in this effort probably for maybe going on 3 years. We initiated a summit, summoned all of the partners around the community to attend that summit. And it eventually evolved with the city and county's partnership in the alliance, which is the meeting that we're having this afternoon. We've gotten as far with the alliance as having a strategic planning process to be laid out around the community. And so those meetings are in the process. But in addition to that, we have what we call Impact GMV, which is a program that is initiated out of my office, but is actually operated out of the fire department with our gun violence prevention team. The gun violence prevention programming has many elements to it, and the interrupters program, which I believe is of concern, or if there are questions around it, is the element that I specifically responded to with the questions that were asked by the trust for the city to address. I will not address the details of it. I can simply say that the city itself has placed money into this programming overall and specifically into the interrupters prior to the city bringing them on board as part-time employees. They are prevention in the trenches from my perspective. If you want to put data around it, I think it takes a little longer than we've had them in place to actually collect data and decide whether it is a positive or negative impact on the incidents of gun violence in our community. But I believe they are an important part of it. I know the Children's Trust have been associated since it was started with David Lawrence in Miami-Dade County. And since being here in Gainesville, obviously, I've been aware of the efforts of the trust, and I know you do things across the board with many different partners. But when it comes down to prevention in the trenches, I think that the Interrupters program is one of the few that actually is on the ground, and they are in those unsafe spaces, which many of us don't want to be in. But those are spaces that our children are in, and they also need the same attention as we give children in our libraries and in our healthcare facilities. Children are everywhere, and they are exposed to a lot of different things. And so with that, I just simply say that if it is the data that connects with what is happening in gun violence that is of concern, I think that's a great way to judge whether the program is working or not. I just don't believe the program has actually been engaged enough for that data. to be collected and shared. I don't know exactly at what point that data connects with what is seen in a courtroom or what is seen, in our schools around the community, because kids are everywhere and they're not always within sight and within our reach. But I think for any prevention program that is out there, that is in a space, whether it is unsafe or not, that we can get a message out to our children, then we should take advantage. As I said, the interrupters is one element of our gun violence prevention program. The program operators are here. They have policies and procedures around that program. It is a little unconventional. We've been approached over the last year or two with many other providers that have wanted to also participate in this space with the city. We have chosen this route, and at this point, staff is available to continue to answer questions. We hope that we've answered most of them in the response that was put together. It was pretty lengthy. I just kind of wanted to hit all of the angles of the program, and so I think that was done in the response provided, but staff is here to go into any more detail.
Thank you, Manager Curry. All right, members, any questions on this item? Do you have anything you want to add? Oh, you stand, but
Thank you, Chair. Sean Hillhouse, Fire Chief for the City of Gainesville. Just really wanted to be able to answer any questions that anybody may have about the data that was sent over or about how the program operates.
all right, members, any questions for Bullard and then member Tinka? Judge Bullard.
I don't know who can respond to this question, and Director Kiner, you may be able to. I wasn't on the trust when this was presented initially, but it is my understanding that this program is modeled after the Chicago program and the success rates of that particular program. Also, my understanding that particular training was provided to that program that is not consistent with the training provided to the local interrupters. And I don't recall the name of the that initially was enlisted to provide that training. Can you?
I believe you are speaking of the core violence program out of Chicago. To be transparent, I don't know that that was ever a part of the discussion when all of this partnership came into being between the trust and the city, or even the county, because the county was also a partner at that time. So it might be better for someone from the city to address the model itself of the interrupters.
You're talking about the model, not the organization, because I can speak to the organization. Okay, yeah, don't let me start speaking to the organization.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Board. Brittany Coleman, Gun Violence Intervention Program Manager for the city. In response to your question, yes, when we first started, I came on in March of last year, so we joined, of course, with the city manager's office and doing research. The Chicago program absolutely is a foundation of violence interruption work, and so there was research done around that. We also traveled to Orlando. Some members of the team traveled to Miami. They do a different program. It's not Cure Violence. It's I believe it's called Choose Peace. Is a part of their work, and so we've done a lot of research about what's out there nationally. They also do some international work as well, and we took a lot of I guess the essence of what they do, but our focus here locally is about public health. It is about looking at providing access to resources, about connecting folks in the community directly to the services that they need. So while a lot of it will resemble some of the models that have been referenced, it really was focused on the needs of Gainesville and Alachua County and what some of the residents said that they wanted us to focus on. So it does have that conflict mediation core, but a lot of what we want to do is that community outreach, that engagement, connecting folks to resources. So that was a part of the model. They did not come to do training. I think that might have been a part of the grant that they applied for to bring some of that to the local area. The training that we do internally is heavy on crisis de-escalation, also aspects of direct response. So God forbid, if they're ever in a situation that is a crisis and they need to act quickly, right? We wanted to do crisis de-escalation. We wanted to do stop the bleed, Narcan administration. We wanted them to have some information about how to do CPR, how to use a kit. They all have kits in their possession. So we wanted them to be active and ready in those ways. So we did take some pieces of conflict resolution and how to mediate crisis and things like that. But we heavily mirrored it on the public health model. And some of that guidance comes from the DOJ.
And so who specifically provides that training?
So, yes, ma'am. It's a collaborative effort. We rely on the fire department for a lot of that internal training. The city manager's office did a piece of that, of course. Myself and Director Stone provided some of that as well. And a lot of it came out of our first responders.
Okay, do you have anything else to add before I close? Okay, I just want to say again, thank you all. You know, I gotta speak to core violence since you brought it up, Judge. You know, they basically, in my opinion, used the city of Gainesville, the county, to get a grant. Did not like where that was going and then took that money to a different community. I don't know. I don't know. They were,
Pure Violence never approached the city of Gainesville. Came in on the tail end of that grant when they had applied for it and used the data from the city of Gainesville to apply and place it in their proposal. We were never approached by Pure Violence. The people who were from DC, Baltimore, or wherever they were from. I had a meeting with Pastor Duncan, who was clear that he wanted to be the lead person in this community representing the Cure Violence effort, but he never talked about a proposal that was being put together. And when we found out about it, we actually found out about it by going online because the city had also applied for the same grant and we were not approved. Apparently they had applied for that grant. They were approved using the city's information, but they never approached the city. They never met with our commission. And so that is how that worked.
my only point is that when I look at the work that's being done and I look out into our room and I see Brittany, Gainesville Fire Rescue, GPD, city manager, John Alexander, Caleb, Pastor Bishop Stokes, our community, I see people that are working with our community on the ground. And I see a city that is utilizing a tremendous amount of internal resources to try to bring forth something that honestly, we still don't even have a strategic plan yet. That's more on the county and Santa Fe than on the folks that are in this room. And so I appreciate this board asking those questions. I also appreciated the 90-page response and would ask that as you continue to gather data, you think about the things that we were asking so that in a year, when we have more time and more success in neighborhood by neighborhood, house by house, really parent by parent and kid by kid, you can bring that data back to us as we continue to improve that. And without me really losing my over that group, that's all I'll say about that. Because I just appreciate you all.
And not only that, if the data dictates that some other approach is amenable to this body versus the approach that the city is offering, you all partnership with many organizations, it may be.
Thought we were done. We're not. Sorry.
Sorry, I just want to say a couple things. First of all, it is not uncommon as you develop a program like this. It's effective from my point of view about this. It is not uncommon to go, and I used to call them the active ingredient in other people's programs and approaches. You know, you try and find what that thing is that makes the difference happen, and then you bring it home. And it is also not uncommon in these kinds of efforts to say, what does this community want? What is this community going to accept? And look at the people with the lived experience and incorporate that as well. And so there may be a program that works really well in Chicago or Baltimore, doesn't mean all of it would work here. And so I appreciate that flexibility and that approach of visiting multiple locations. It's the approach that was used to do the co-responder program that the city of Gainesville was one of the original partners on, and has become in a standard best practice. And there is such a thing as evidence-based practice, but I also believe in practice-based evidence, which is what they're gathering now. And prevention is the hardest kind of practice-based evidence to gather because you're proving a negative, is what we did, the reason this didn't happen, not the reason it did happen. And so I think it is very soon and too early. So I would commend you for looking at the data and collecting it. But I think it's a huge investment in our community. And I also want to just say I appreciate it.
Okay.
If I could just
Yeah.
follow up on that. Thank the board for that comment. The fire department has a lot of experience improving negatives on the prevention side, and that is always very difficult. We've also had a lot of success in rapid iteration of programs. Our CRP program is a great example of that, where we started this program and just changed it over time to make sure that we met exactly what the community was looking for.
Okay. All right, members, that's good. Is there any public comment on this item? Mike Powell, I see you back there. I mentioned, I didn't forget you. Sorry, I didn't mention your name, but I see you. Okay, City of Gainesville, I know you have an alliance to get to. You are welcome to stay. We actually would love for you to stay. We're about to talk about one of the best executive directors in the state. But I know that y'all have many things to do. Caleb, thanks for being here. Okay, all right, let's move on to the next item, which is the chair report. Before I get to the executive director evaluation, I want to recognize a person who I wanted to recognize at our last meeting because she had just started, but she couldn't attend that, and that's our new CFO, Molly. So Molly,
Hello,
welcome. You want to introduce yourself to your board?
my name is Molly Greenwald, and I am the new CFO here at the Children's Trust of Alachua County. I'm already messing up, excuse me. Hello, my name is Molly Allison Greenwald, and I am the new CFO for the Children's Trust of Alachua County. I am very excited to be here because as I've hit the ground running, I'm realizing even more than when I interviewed, there is so much value in this organization, and it's such a great, strong team, and I really look forward to jumping in, picking up, I think, where my predecessor left off in order to help the board meet their board's expectations and be able to be more provider-centric, to have better data and cleaner insights to help you as a board affect stronger and more intellectual decision-making. And I look forward to being here to serve, and I hope that I am doing a good job, although I'm very nervous right now, so I'm rambling. So at that point, I'm going to turn this over and say, please don't hold that against me.
Meet you.
Nice to meet you, Molly. Welcome. Thank you. She's got cool shoes and she's a firecracker. And most importantly, she is helping Marcia gather the information that Marcia needs and this organization to present to us. So thank you, Molly. All right, Executive Director evaluation. Let me first say that the process that we go through, which is, and Marcia hates all this because we're going to say all these nice things about her, but she has to sit here. That's part of the deal. The self-evaluation. Nice things. The self-evaluation form that Marcia provided to this board, I sit on just so I can frame this correctly. I'm the Career Source Chair for the 6 surrounding counties. I'm the Library Governing Board's Vice Chair. I'm on the County Commission, as you all know. And I get a chance to see a lot of evaluations for directors of special districts, of counties, of cities, and I have said last year, and I say again this year, there's not a more complete self-evaluation of her work than what Marcia provided to this board. That's part one. Part two, we each have an opportunity, and thank you to our HR person for modifying that survey with the feedback that we got. We got a evaluation survey. And this board, I will say, provides an immense amount of feedback, more so than most other boards, when it comes to evaluating their director. Thirdly, I will also say that this is the only executive director that I'm aware of since I've been elected. I'm in my 12th year, where the board actually asked for a 360 review. Staff have an opportunity to evaluate the executive director. Very common in high-performing private organizations and high-performing nonprofits. Trust me all when I tell you, very uncommon in special districts and public entities around the state. I mean, I don't actually know of any other. Maybe there are others. I just don't know of any others. And so what I had an opportunity to do was review all of you all's feedback, review all the feedback from the staff. And then Marcia and I had a series of actually 3 conversations, because we had an initial conversation. I said, let me get into all this stuff. I got into it all. We had a second conversation, and then obviously we had a third conversation before this meeting. I think, as your current chair, that the process is as complete as can be. I think the feedback that we got was very valuable. I will tell you that in our one-on-one conversations, Marcia is very self-reflective from both the folks that she reports to and the folks that report to her about how she can not only improve her personal skill set, but also how she can improve how people perceive her skill set, and then what things she can do systemically so that if there is no Marcia, the next person can step into a role, because we never know when we're going to get hit by a bus. And so from that perspective, I just want, what's that?
Make it a positive, win the lottery.
Or win the lottery. Win the lottery. I think about it. I just don't want to get hit by a bus. Y'all can win the lottery. I try not to get hit by buses. And so from my perspective, I think it's inappropriate for this board to have a discussion about her performance. I would recommend that we, in addition to the raise that we gave all of our staff, that we give Marcia an additional 2% effective October 1st. That would be my recommendation, but I'll leave it to this board. Some of you may think more, some of you may think less. I will tell you, she is very hesitant about doing much more than that. She is a person who understands that she leads by example, and she didn't even want the 2%. I said, Marcia, I can't, I mean, I'm like the chair. I'm going to bring something forward because I've done this with lots of other organizations, and it's just something that I feel really comfortable with and strong. With that, I will stop. I will turn it over to this board for comments, and then I'll look for a motion that we, at the very least, accept the evaluation. And then if there is anything on pay or compensation, you can add that to the motion. Who wants to go first, or does anyone want to go? Go ahead, Cheryl.
I never start on this stuff. So Miss Marcia, I have had the pleasure of serving on this board since we were part of the hiring process with our first director and going through that, and then also interviewing and hiring you. One thing I will say is, in your interview, the one thing I remember vividly about you was the passion that you exuded. And we did it on Zoom. We weren't in person, but I could feel it from you. You have never disappointed me since the moment you started, as far as keeping that passion going. How many years are we now?
3.
There we go. 3 years, and you still exude that passion. So, and it's contagious, and I see it in your team and how hard they work. And again, your success is dependent on the success of everybody. So recognizing you is also recognizing all of them, but amazing job. And I could not say, I don't think I had a negative comment of any of the sections. I'm just always impressed with you. And even when you're having hard conversations, you do it in such a professional and kind way that it's a great impact, and your involvement in the community is. So thank you.
I think it's easy to get numbed by the numbers when you're in your report, how many. But I'm really glad I had the pleasure of watching you at the childcare conversation last week. Not just showing up, it's showing up with intention and masterful job of and sharing your passion for the topic. And that convening role in early childhood, every time I think K-12 is complicated, early childhood blows me away by how much more complicated it is one of the more powerful things we could do. So it's not a matter of I showed up and I talked to some people. It was presence as a leader and a convener. And
I almost wish I could have you pull the evaluation, and you have the evaluations there and the positive comments, because I know there are numerous positive comments, and I'm going to try to articulate what I think I stated in my evaluation about this innate ability that you have to, deal with complex and difficult issues, and such a diplomatic and, like Cheryl said, kind manner. Your demeanor is perfect for this position, and I see it in your entire team. I mean, since I've been back, there's no question that this has been, the best part of it is if I have a question, I call you, you get the information, everybody. I mean, you're receptive, you're positive, and you have, integrity and grace, and it's been.
First of all, thank you for putting up with me. I appreciate that more than you know. And the phone calls on the day of the meeting, that you're so gracious to give me however much time during those phone. But the great thing, Marcia, is you care. I mean, I'm on this board because I want to see our kids, do better, excel, and be successful. And that passion of yours, is remarkable, because you know that in order to do that, we have to succeed. And you are all the things that everybody said. You're kind, you're diplomatic, diplomacy and your gentleness, as far as when you're dealing with something that's tough, you don't belittle people. I'm not here, so I don't know, but it seems like everybody in the office enjoys being here, and which is imperative, because if they didn't, then we wouldn't be successful in trying to accomplish the goals that we want to accomplish. So thank you very much for your leadership. I appreciate it. As you saw, I don't make a whole lot of comments, but I think that you do an excellent job, and I'm really glad that you're here.
Okay, Dr. Barnes.
So, back when we started this, we talked about building the plane while we flew it. And I think you have succeeded. It does in fact now have a rudder and two wings, and it lands. And you didn't have a parachute while you were doing this. You just were sort of doing it. So I will echo everybody else's comments. I think a lot of times I come to these meetings and I feel like we are now a solid organization. And I think that's the work that you've put in, is to build that team and bring it together so that it does operate lurching its way down the runway. So thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Member Certain.
Ditto for what everybody else said. I did have one question. It's a ditto for what everyone else has said. I'm kind of all out talking. I have one question. You said what staff receive. What does staff receive as a raise?
Staff receives 6%. That is what she will receive unless we modify that. All right, so is there a motion to receive the report or give me authorization? Yeah, go
First of all, thank you, everybody. I don't take lightly anything that any of you have said. I truly appreciate it. I also want to comment on the staff response as well. I addressed with my team this morning, there was one person who completed the staff evaluation who had some things to say that they had every right to say, right? And so what I said to the team was, I'm a work in progress. We can always get better. And I hope that that person, I can turn this around, their perception. What I hope that I am building here with my team is a culture of respect and of value, and that every single person matters. Now, we may not always disagree, right? If y'all remember back in the day, we used to agree to disagree when we didn't agree. But I want to say publicly to my team, thank you for completing the evaluation. Thank you to the person who shared their perceptions, because now I have some work to do. And I hope I can turn those perceptions around. And then thank you to all of you board members for completing the evaluation. Even Nancy, way out yonder in the Blue Lagoon, completed the evaluation. So I just wanted to say that.
I will make the motion to receive it's nothing against you, but I'm for just with the staff rate.
That's the only motion right now, unless we have another motion. Her motion was to approve.
Receiving the evaluations with the same rates that the staff received.
I'll second.
Ken, I appreciate what you say, what your recommendation was, and Marcia, I hope you don't, you can put this as another arrow in your quiver to shoot me with, but I appreciate what you do very much. A 6% raise is, I don't know what, I think the rate of inflation now is between 2 and 3%. And the issue that potentially could happen is could be some friction because everybody here works their derriere off. And I think that you lead by example, and apparently you said that you really weren't interested in getting the extra 2% for whatever reason. I think 6% is generous, and it certainly doesn't mean that you probably don't deserve, whatever, but everybody deserves it because y'all all do a tremendous job. So certainly is, I appreciate what Ken said, and I hope that there's no ill will.
Thank you, Lee, for saying what I just did. I was gonna say something during the public.
Okay,
Wait a minute, and I also squeak when I walk, okay?
he's cheap, he is, I'm telling you. I thought I was cheap when I got on the board as a CPA, and I got to this guy on the board, and I was like, oh my goodness, he's cheaper than me. Okay, any other discussion on this? And I will split up that motion so we can vote on accepting the report, and then if we all agree on the. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak to the motion? Come on up. Yep. Come up to the podium. If you just introduce yourself, give us your name, and then you have 3 minutes.
My name is Xavier White, and I am the CEO of Early Learning Coalition of Alachua, and I have had.
You'll just pull that microphone up. There you go. Yep. Yes.
I have had the pleasure to work alongside Marcia and learn things from her. She's just great. She's all over the community. She is helpful not just to me when I was new in my role, but to anybody that is needing a helping hand. It's been amazing hearing everything that you guys have said about the work that she's done. But when you sit in these executive level positions, it's a little tougher when you try to compare what the staff is doing, what the executive director is doing. And if it's the will of the board, I would suggest that you guys go up to the 8%. Executive directors that have the passion that she has, and executive directors that are doing the work that she's doing, not just with the community partners, but with her team and with the board. To hear everyone on her board speak positive of what she's doing is just impactful to me. I wish to be as great as she's been. And I just wanted to share that. Thank you, guys.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Bishop Chris Stokes. I'm with the Willie Mae Stokes. And I too want to echo the support of Marcia and her leadership, all of the team. These are absolutely great people. But I guess I was a little confused. So what was the motion? Was it to give or not to give?
No, the motion, Pastor Stokes, just to remind everyone, you and people at home, is to accept the evaluation and then to accept the standard 6% raise that Marshall will receive, which will be the same as all the other employees.
Okay.
I was asking for
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
anyone else wish to speak to the motion. Tina, I'm sorry, back to the board.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I appreciate the work you've done and I appreciate the comments of my colleagues, and I was trying to go with what Lee said. We have been so aligned here of late, and I am hoping that nor'easter or El Nino does not come and like wipe our county out, in all honesty. So I tend to, I believe in compensating employees fairly. I believe in the generosity of benefits, but I also walk the fine line of us doing this on the public's dime, right? And so I do think that the trust is compensating Marcia fairly. I do. I think the previous year we were generous in going above with our raise. But when I am looking and the notion that we took, the step that we took forward when we were doing the trim process, and when we did not go higher up in our assessment because there were some comments made by some on our board of the current economic challenges of where we are in our community and not wanting to really be a burden on the community. And so I do, and Member Pinkerson mentioned of where inflation is and where we have compensated our employees with the 6%. That's why I asked what the staff received. I think my feeling is that is a very generous raise in this particular day and time. I'm not working professionally now with an outside paycheck, but from what I'm hearing of, what school district employees receive and the city, what the county folks receive, I think 6 is a lot. And I just think that we have to be very, very cautious as we turn this corner of how we're extending pay and benefits to our employees, because we don't want to offend our citizens who are going to have to vote to renew this. So kind of I think I'm between the two of y'all as being tight, between you and Lee. I don't think I'm as tight as Lee.
No, there isn't anyone, I could tell you. No, I
appreciate the work that our ED does because, I appreciate that as well as with the staff, because, the work that gets done here, Marcia gets the face of the work, but she's not the feet of the work. So I don't want the staff to think that we're just heaping all of that on one person. She's the face of the work. If you don't have good people that's up under you that's doing the work, then she doesn't look well. So we can't being also, being in that spot when the fecal matter hits the oscillating device in the ceiling, it goes off. People are looking at her. So some may say, yeah, that is worth a little extra, but at the same time, if there has to be some give and take and some caution, we have to just, kind of. Appreciate you always wanting to.
Yeah, from my perspective, I get where I think Lee is, which is sometimes the pay is warranted, but the timing is wrong because the state is taking a look at special districts for, Doge and property values, and so it may send the wrong message. From my perspective, I hear that loud and clear, and I'm dealing with that at the county, and at the library and at Career Source. When I look at small organizations, I will tell you that every single one of our staff members makes a significant impact to not only our community, the organization, but also the culture. And one person can destroy a culture. And from my perspective, Maggie went through a whole lot when we had to replace Colin. I remember that. And I think we did win the lottery. I mean, we literally won the lottery when we were able to attract a person back to their home who wouldn't have done it for free, but when I tell you works an excessive amount more than we ever expected because she loves what she does and she loves this community. I think 2% is actually, to be honest, y'all, I had a different conversation with Marcia. She brought me down to 2%. Because that's just the kind of person that she is. But when I find a leader that is able to transition not just our staff, but really our community, our providers are now our partners. I couldn't say that 4 years ago. We actually had two of them speak to us today. I see Christy out in the audience. She and her team have done a lot, and so I just thought it was more of a, I want to recognize that. I want your team to recognize that we recognize that. It's not a lot of money, but it's more symbolic. And so that was why I brought that up. I perfectly hear my colleagues and I would just vote against it, but let's go ahead and vote. And then if that vote fails, then we'll have another discussion. So two-part motion. One, accept the evaluation. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone oppose that? Okay, that motion passes unanimous. Second part of the motion to approve the 6% as the same. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. That motion passes 6-1. Congratulations, Executive Director. You have an awesome board that loves you very much. And thank you. Yes, thank you for the process. Going through the process, started a month and a half ago, and we all have played our little role in that. And so that motion passes 6-1. Okay, that's good. That's the chair's report. Now we move to the executive director's report. So Director Kiner, you're recognized.
Thank you again. I will be brief. I want to commend my fiscal team for getting us through the trim process, or I should say almost getting us through the trim process. There's one more step to complete, but I have to thank Molly because in her almost 3 weeks of being here, really she was thrown into the fire. I have to thank Scott because even from afar, he has played a role in this process. Nicole, who may not be in the room, and Katura. When I say the team came together, everybody sat and said, okay, what's my role in this? They really have been troopers. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It's your first trim. And then lastly, I believe it was last week, Tina, the Education Foundation recognized us with the new Outstanding Community Partner Award for supporting Take Stock in Children. It was a really long event, but a nice event and one of our first awards. So I wanted to share that. I'll pass it around to everybody. That is it, Mr. Chair.
All right, members, any questions for the director? All right, is there anyone from the public? Oh, we got one more thing.
Thank you, Christy. How could I forget? And at your places, you should see, thank you, that is somewhere in my notes, member certain. You should see our new parenting playbook. life size. The last one was a mini. This one is a life size. I hope that you all will enjoy it. You will see it all around the county with great resources and information for our parents. And then
Who
lastly,
prepared this, Martha?
beg pardon?
Who did this?
We did.
The trust
You
did
did,
this?
the trust. That is our parenting playbook. We published one in the fall and one in the spring. And then lastly, if you all will remember from our wonderful board retreat, we had a whole conversation about life cycles for the nonprofits. This is the book that goes along with that information. You all now have one, the staff has one, and then we will be moving forward with beginning to meet with our providers to discuss life cycles.
Awesome. It's great. Okay, thank you. All right, anyone from the public wishes to address the board on this item? Right, back to the board members, anything? Go ahead, member certain, town hall meeting.
Yeah, well, the ceremony was really the program, the 30th year Take Stock in Children, but the pleasure of actually meeting and again, reconnecting with two scholars who came through Take Stock. One is back married with Timmy Miles, and then another young lady, I'm trying to think of her name. I worked with her mother years ago, but she's a physician now.
Wow.
Said when she was in 6th grade, she wanted to be a physician. I think I met her when she was in 8th grade, had been a Take Stock scholar for 1 year, and now she's a physician. And so that was kind of a really worth me thinking I'm giving money to something that's really benefiting someone.
If I could add on to that, I had the pleasure of getting to reconnect with Latoria Mosley, who I brought into the program in 7th grade, and she's now an assistant principal at Bishop Middle, her former middle school. So it is great to say, and sort of kind of connected to the conversation about the gun violence work. Sometimes it's hard to keep your eye on the ball long term, but it really what can happen when you have continue.
And then lastly, I'm gonna try to make this the town hall. I am actually, I think Dr. Patton, I don't know if she's listening to us, but she is probably really sick of hearing me. Literacy, I do think it is probably issue that is really nearest and dearest to my heart because I think it has such a profound impact. We get students off and they're reading on grade level by grade 3. That can change the whole trajectory of their educational career. And so Ken mentioned the word back, which I did not want to embrace when you said moonshot, because I am actually leaning in on Dr. Patton to ask her to embrace that word. Our leaders, our school leaders, the principals, especially the primary principals, really buy in on this. I think it is really, really key that we do that. So I ask y'all to kind of lean in with me on the school district in that, because while I am proud of the investment from the trust, and I am proud of the investment that the county commission, city and the county really before the trust was established, leaned in, has tried to help the school district or to make this a priority. I think having the other agencies and now the trust join that, and I hate to say put pressure, but it is kind of a positive pressure in the sense on the school district, because that is the entity that I think, I say this, that they have to take the lead on. The students 6.5 hours every day. And if it's not important to the district and we don't put our resources and our efforts behind it, to me, it's a waste of it's not the most optimal use of the additional resources used. You all within your capacities really try to help get the word out for the town hall for folks to come. And I am, like I said, Dr. Patton and the folks, I can, as a board member, can have this as my focus and wanting, and hopefully my colleagues can, but if the superintendent does not get that vision and push it down to the staff, it doesn't get, and not to say that she isn't, but because there's just so many issues with our district right now, but that's something that I really means. Hopefully that our progress that we're seeing here, we can really start seeing fruits of those investments. Thank you.
Thank you, member certain. Director Kiner.
Just to respond to that, thank you, Member Certain. I was going to mention the two flyers at the end and for your information. But I will say this, we have had nothing but support from the district on everything related to literacy we had a meeting 2 weeks ago with the researchers, Peak Literacy, UFly, I'm missing somebody, another entity, I guess, and the school system. And the system came in, talked to us about the literacy supports that they have from elementary all the way through high school. They are literally walking side by side with us on everything that we are doing with the literacy plan. So they have leaned in. Dr. Patton has assured me over and over and over again that we have her support, and it's just a matter of us asking. Pretty much everything we've asked for, we have received thus far. So I didn't want to leave this conversation without stating that publicly.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, and on this other flyer, which I know you'll get to, tomorrow, the county commission is doing a proclamation. I think I'm giving it to you, Marcia, so I'll see you in the morning at the county commission. And that, another one from the city on Thursday, and then our friends from the Circus Center will be hosting us Thursday night, October 23rd, which is next Thursday from 4 to 6:30. All right, let's move on to our item 15, after-school program results. And we've got Ms. Bonnie Wagner, who I believe will be giving this presentation. And she doesn't even.
I was just gonna say, it's not fine.
Bonnie, I'm not going to say you have 7 minutes. You take as much time as you need. We got plenty of time. There's no actual action required, but certainly we want to hear from Bonnie. So Bonnie, you are recognized.
Here to present on the after-school program results from this past year. So we've been funding after-school programs in Alachua County since 2021 to 2022 school year. And in this past year, we were able to, through our investment, fund 366 youth. This is through 7 programs and 9 site locations throughout Alachua County. And in the 2023-2024 year, we added additional program in the Willie Mae Stokes Center in Micanopy. So 7 of those locations are in Gainesville. We have 1 in High Springs Purpose, and then we have the Micanopy Willie Mae Stokes after school program. On this slide, it shows the demographics of the youth that were served through our after-school programs, with the average age, the majority being elementary school students, alongside the programs being mainly located in Gainesville. Our youth, 79% also reside in the city, followed by 9% in High Springs and 7% in Micanopy, and then it goes from there. Those are the kids that we've been able to serve. In terms of scholarship eligibility, so for the youth that we're serving through our investment, they have to meet 1 or more scholarship criteria. And on this slide, it presents which scholarship eligibility criteria that the youth had fallen under when they complete their form. So the most common one being the families are falling below 200% of the federal poverty line. So, and for those that qualify based on their income, we see the average household income being about $43,000 per year, with the average family size of 4.1 and about 2.5 kids within the average household. So these are the different, every year when they come in, they'll fill out an enrollment form and have an eligibility document that they'll show. So they have this, and then they also must be Alachua County residents and entering grades K through 12 in the school district. So programming offered, all programs have to offer at least 150 days of programming. All our providers met and exceeded that target. So that's for all programs. For our programs that serve middle and high school students, we also want to see that they offer enrichment topics to our middle schoolers, which are listed on the left side of the slide, and then for our high schoolers on the right side of the slide. So we wanted to see that when they're attending, that they're getting exposure to topics that will help them develop and into adulthood. So those show the number of days they've offered those enrichment topics with the providers that are serving middle and high school providers. Not all our sites serve middle and high schoolers. We have 4 sites that serve middle schoolers and just 2 sites that serve high schoolers. So how much did youth participate? So on average, youth participated 103 days and their attendance was 74% of the days during the time of the enrolled they attended. So out of the that we wanted to see that kids were attending at least 65% or higher of days. So most of our kids, 85% or more, did that. And then in the duration of the program, not all kids are there for the whole year. Some start right at the beginning of the year and they stay through the whole year. So that's about 2/3 of kids, but there are kids that come in later or leave earlier in the year. But on average, we had 81% that were enrolled and participated for 4 months or longer, and the average duration of being 7.5 months. So in our enrichment content, which is focused on our middle and high schoolers, we wanted to see that our middle and high schoolers were attending at least 3 or more of the content areas so that they were getting exposed to social emotional development, the relationships, healthy relationships, career exploration, and that. So the graphs on this chart show the percentage of the number of topics that they attended and also the percentages of each. So our highest one was social emotional development among our middle schoolers. Highest in high schoolers was academic support, where all our high schoolers got some of that. So that's good. And then on the lower end, we see that transition to high school and internet and social media. Not as many kids participated in that particular information. So what we do is we share this information back with our after school providers so they kind of know what topics were, really well attended, what topics maybe do we need to focus on offering more. So we've had this as a measure for 2 years now. It's gone up quite a bit from the first year, so we're still building momentum in getting these offered and looking at the data for this. But all in all, middle schoolers can be a challenge because they don't have them as long. They get out of school at what, like 3:30 or so they don't have as large of a window to offer all the programming they like to. So that's a challenge. So they're thinking of creative ways to make sure that they get the valuable content. So do you have a question? Go ahead.
On the previous slide, Bonnie, the programming that's there, is that programming being offered by enrichment providers, or is that just the programming that the provider, like the internet and social media safety, is that provided by the provider, or is that like an enrichment provider?
So they can do it a variety of different ways. So they can have their staff deliver the content. They can invite a partner to come in and so they can use one of our enrichment providers, given that they offer. A lot of our providers, I think almost all of them utilized our enrichment services. So, and they were able to offer things through that as well as other community partners as well.
Do did I hear you say they choose which of these activities? So the program offers it, but the kids opt in? Is that how that works?
They have to offer all 5 of them. And so it's a performance measure that they offer all 5 of them, but then not every kid is there every day. And or if they enrolled maybe in the program in April and they already offered internet and social media, maybe back in January, they might have missed that one.
But do the kids choose to go in or no, you just do it and they're there and they get it? Okay, thank you.
Another thing that we've been measuring over the course of the last 2 years is social emotional development. So one of the early outcomes we would see through the the parent-child satisfaction is they felt like their kids were starting to build confidence, self-esteem, like really learn, take responsibility, learn how to set goals and persist and get through frustration. So all of these developments are youth development activities or fall under social emotional development. And so we thought it would be a great outcome to start to assess that more systematically. And it did prove that a lot of the youth are indeed showing gains over the course of the year in growing their social emotional skills. And 90% of the youth in the programs 4 months or longer are either showing proficient skills or that they gained skills from the beginning of the year. So this was another great outcome that the programs are showing, that they're learning to, again, even in the qualitative comments, they're learning how to manage and regulate themselves. They're learning how to build their self-esteem, like, and set their goals and build relationships, work as a team. The after-school environment is a very good environment for youth to be under the supervision and care how to develop these skills. So certainly one of the important outcomes. Another outcome that the after-school providers are very proud of is that a lot of the programs intentionally focus on helping youth build their academic skills and be successful at school academically. So in the RFP, during our last cycle, we asked programs, do you have an academically focused component? And some of them did and some of them didn't. For the ones that did, we asked them to report on whether they saw changes in their literacy and mathematics as well. So this is sort of a hodgepodge of data. Some people collected FAST scores, some people collected grades. One program looked at DIBELS. One had a specific assessment that was related to the programming that they offered in literacy. So, but overall, we did look at the direction of the change over the course of the school year, with 80% of youth showing improvement in literacy and then 70% showing improvement in math. More of our programs focused on literacy than math. There was 3 programs. So that was also an outcome that the programs talk about being very proud of, to helping the youth not only be successful here, but seeing them getting promoted to the next grade level and stay on track academically. Summary of all our performance measures for after school, squished in really tight. So a lot of green. The only gray where we fell below the target was the attendance for the enrichment. Again, for our middle schoolers, where it was a bit of a challenge getting them into all the activities. But again, this was an improvement from last year and was our second year in trying to offer this additional enrichment for middle schoolers. Parents, again, continue to show very high levels of satisfaction. Within the last RFP, we added a youth satisfaction survey, which our middle and high schoolers complete. So youth also have been giving very positive feedback on their relationship, feeling cared about, feeling safe. That we want to see that the program days are all offered, the enrichment is offered, and that all that is being attended, that parents and youth are satisfied with the quality, and that we're seeing the proficiency or improvement in the social skills. So these are our provider agencies. We have been working closely with them, sharing information, inviting them to trainings. We are going to a conference next week, the Florida After School Conference together. And we also have our Lights On After School program next week that we invite you all to. So hopefully we all have our flyer, and I think Marcia has that too. I hope I did steal your your thunder. I figured I had this after school presentation. Gotta talk about Lights On After School. So are there any questions?
Yes, we've got a full set of questions. So, member Certain, Dr. Labarta, then member Pinkerton.
Well, I guess question, comment, are we showing some grace to our middle school providers since you made mention of the time that they get out of school and if there's any hitches in transportation and getting them from the school to there, that we're not penalizing our providers for low attendance for middle schoolers because they do have that. They get out of school 3:40 or something on that line, and if there's any hiccup, they don't get there until 4:30, right? And then the program is over at 5:30 or 6 o'clock. So yeah, so there's not a lot of time. So I'm hoping that we're showing some grace. We want them to 10 and want them to be there, but knowing that there may be some challenges with that. So I'm hoping that there's something that you'll look at with that. But I am glad to see the attendance as well as and is really good for the high schoolers. Just wondering if are we making any concessions or any allowances for middle school, knowing the challenge that they have with their dismissal time and up into the schools, to the.
That was something that we just recently, they kind of gave that feedback. It's really hard to get it all. And I was like, because I'm like, hey, why is this isn't met? This wasn't met last year. It didn't come up in discussion last year that was. And then it's out of the 5 activities and there's 100. At some point, it would be able to be. And there wasn't pushback in the negotiations. Talked about it, but as we were sharing out. Challenge, so.
Push back on it, you know what I'm saying? You may not realize it, but when you look at just the actual time, that's not something that they can control. And then, last school year, we did have a lot of challenges with busing. This year has gotten better. We've done some rerouting and trying to validate routes and get folks, but we still have a few routes that are challenging. And that is because of the driver that's on doesn't have good attendance. So all it takes is 1 or 2 drivers not being on their, being at work that particular day. And it's a cascading. So like I said, it was more of I guess not really a question. It was a question, are we making any allowances? But a kind of a comment that that might be something that we have to look into and not deem those providers that serve middle school, which is such a critical age and period in their development, because I know a lot of middle schoolers, and the judge can probably attest to this. We want to make sure we're keeping them into good options for their out of school time.
Member, Dr. Labarta?
So just a quick follow-up on that. I think that might be something to drill down a little bit on the data and see how often these kids are getting there on time and to say if they're not on time because of transportation, then how do you account? I guess my question is, we have a lot of kids that are K-5 and those kids are not getting any enrichment, and yet social emotional development, since Dr. Hart's not here, safety and boundaries and, keeping yourself safe and all of that kind of stuff is really critical in those ages. So I was wondering how we're handling those aspects in those after-school programs separate from enrichment if they're not getting.
I would say that the elementary school age are also getting enrichment, but I think we wanted to more intentionally track it for the middle and high schoolers because their daily attendance tends to be, they have other activities, they have possibly sports, work, babysitting, not going on in their lives. So we wanted to make sure that they were getting. But for the elementary school age, they're certainly quality programming to the enrichment providers are going out to them and they're offering enrichment. But I think for elementary, we traditionally track the daily attendance. But that could be something we could look into.
Whether or not we penalize, I don't want it to be a punitive, let's not add one more requirement kind of thing. But I do think it's important, particularly, and I don't say as many, but yeah, good, if you're a kid, good touch, bad touch with littles. Any of those kinds of activities, it would be good just to know, are you providing them and are the kids getting it? Because I do think, you know, social emotional development and safety for those ages are just absolutely critical along, you know, with whatever else, safety just in general of being in a good program.
Commissioner Pinkerton?
Bonnie, it looks like the parents and the children think very well of what the, you know, what's being provided. So that's what we're after. I do have some questions. Shocking, I'm sure. The number of children you serve is what's 366. But there was a high of up to 415. Because of the number of programs, we're doing 7 programs now. Were there more programs previously?
There was a provider that had their enrollment drop significantly, about 100 to 45, and so they had a struggle with enrollment due to staff up in the beginning of the year, and then also transportation. Actually, several of our providers, but one had a drop in their numbers.
But do y'all expect the numbers to go back up? Will that?
We do. There, we reduced the target for that program and the budget was amended accordingly. They are already, that same provider that was at 45 is already at 61. So they're already ahead of where they were last year, and we expect that.
Well, it said the target was 297, and why was it, you know, why did y'all do 297 when it's always been over 300?
Why was the target less than, why was the target so low?
Target was, y'all said the target was 297, but in the, you know, the least amount, I think, was 340. So why was the target so low?
So when they apply for the funding, they will say how many children that they can accommodate at their site. So if they say that they can accommodate 70 children at their site, we say get within 90% of that 70, your target is met. So we'll look at what number they say that they can accommodate in their site profile and say, yeah, 90% of what they say that they can accommodate. So if they fall a little bit below it, we won't think.
Okay, thanks. About the literacy and mathematics on those programs, will, in the future, will that be coordinated with the school board? I know that we have that agreement that got put in place, so we'll be able to actually see, that, yes, the children are the ones participating in the literacy and mathematics program. Well, actually, we can see whether or not it's carrying through to school.
Yes, I would like to, and then also, you know, the grade level promotion as well, attendance, there's much more opportunities, less reliance on having the staff having to report all this data to us if we can leverage our partnership with the district.
And when we set up the high school after-school program, we wanted to focus more on the career orientation and looking at what was offered. I guess college prep would be one, the career exploration and workforce development, which I'm not really sure what that means. What is workforce development?
It's build a transition between the employers.
Program that
Teens work?
not really. It'd be,
Well, I mean, no, I mean, teens work is
right.
by workforce development.
Okay, so it looks like, you know, as far as the high school, everything was attended pretty well. I'm not sure what the workforce development is, but leadership development was 22%. You know, the question is that there are instances when children come in after the program's been offered. In those instances, it really shouldn't count against the program as far as the numbers are concerned. I would hope that you would somehow be able to ferret out that information so it won't have an impact on the number of children, that percentage. So if y'all could get that in the future, that would be good. So, I mean, the program may be very, very good. You know, it looks like there's 2 transition to high school and internet and social media safety. It doesn't look like those were very well attended. And you said it was only offered a limited amount of times, in which case. What point, if it doesn't look like it's well attended, maybe there's something else that can be offered. So,
That was why I asked the question about, do the kids choose?
right. So I would hope that, going forward, that y'all would look into that to see whether or not we want, that's something that, if it's an enrichment program that we're offering, maybe we want to spend our money elsewhere as far as that's concerned. I'm about through.
I thought you were gonna be really happy.
I was about to say
Yes.
that the fact that we have it, yeah.
I am.
He's a tough one.
This is him happy.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for
Um,
that.
Happy with, are we happy with the attendance?
Their attendance has been strong. I feel it, yeah, they,
66. Okay.
well, it's
Good.
74%, of the days that during the time that they were enrolled, so. That's all kids, that includes our high schoolers that might be involved in
I mean,
other
that's
things.
good, then.
Yeah, I mean, it's 103 days on average. I mean, there's some kids that don't show up, and then, according to the attendance policy, they'll be asked fully utilizing this. Sometimes that does happen. We do serve a high need population, so that sometimes will happen. Sometimes parents won't have the transportation. Happen.
Well, I will reiterate by saying it looks like that the children and the parents feel like what they're being furnished is a really positive thing. So kudos to y'all for that. And I am happy about the fact that there's some numbers in here. I would like, but I'm really gonna be happy if we see it translated. That's gonna make all the difference in the world. We can see whether or not our investments, we're getting, our money's worth on that. So thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate it.
Member Chance.
First of all, Christy, I think Girls Place wins the prize for the best program photo of the year. That is an awesome photo that could be used to social media and all sorts of things. I know how hard it is to get good tight shots of happy kids. Can you remind us, Bonnie, what we changed this year? I remember an income. Look at this. Are you thinking of any potential changes for next year?
So that's a really good question. We didn't change much from this year to last year because it was under the same RFP. So this past 2 years has been under one RFP. We are trying to plan for our future release in RFP. So share with you the results we have had and then hear back on changes for the future. I'd like to, again, have the data come from the school district for those that are having the academically focused. Whether that is something that's a requirement or not moving forward, a lot of our programs do feel strongly about it and do it. There are some that might not. So that's a board. Yeah, there hasn't been a big change within this. This was funded, these providers were funded under these 3 years. Out there.
Okay, so, I'll give my comments. So Bonnie, the data on literacy and mathematics on page 192, I think is great. I tying in the last discussion and then what Commissioner Pinkett said, I really want us to move towards, really a focus here on the elementary school kids, third grade reading level, and then how it's transitioning into. I really appreciate having it, though. This is the first time I can remember. And I don't want to put this requirement on the after schools. I think it's the school board's responsibility, but I do really appreciate those programs that are have this component to it and provide us with this data. The results, page 193, the next are just, great. I mean, they're really, really good. And I want to say to the 7 providers, I see 3 or 4 for helping us get to this point. I think this board wanted a lot of this data. The first year we were trying to figure it all out. And it's just really nice to see a collaboration of both of us focused on it, all of us focused on it. I love this book. And I have a question for our staff. How, and I saw in the back that of these 7 providers, one was classified as mature, one was classified as a startup, and the other 5 were growth. How are we making those determinations? And that's.
Well, if you will remember, that was staff's best guess based on the information that we received and took from our workshop back in July with the, I think Teresa provided that for us. So we still have to meet with the providers, go through the actual training ourselves to bring you forward, what the reality is
So
for
page
each
220
provider.
is our best guess.
Correct.
Who's making that determination?
Well, that was that was us. That was an internal.
Okay.
And
Have the
now that we
providers
have our
seen
CFO, no.
Okay.
And now that we have our CFO, our internal discussion was that fiscal also wants to add their input into where they see the providers. So it's got to be a full, kind of a 360.
And then how do the providers
And
see
then,
the provider?
and how do the providers see the providers? But there has to be a training to happen for all of that to take place. So that's why we said to you all back in August, this was going to be a process. This wasn't going to be something we could just turn, flip the switch and start doing. What you asked for was our best guess. So that's what we brought you at the
Well, I appreciate.
whatever
that. You
meeting
got it.
it
Yeah, I
was.
think, I appreciate that. I see Maddie's dying to jump in here. I just will say this and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Labarta. I think we are at a great place now where we can start making little adjustments. I really would want to see on our elementary providers, how we're tying in, this chart, the literacy and the mathematics to the school board. I really want to see on our middle school and high school providers, how they're tying into some of the safety measures, some of the stuff that we talked about earlier in the meeting with technical skills as well as, the gun safety, just the whole safety piece. And then ultimately, I want us to get to, before we get out for renewal, how the providers and our staff are really focused in on sustainable measures that they're doing from startup to growth, growth to maturity, and then circling back to revitalizing. I think, thank you for the report, for the work. It's a lot of work in a 30-minute presentation, but I appreciate it. Okay, Dr. Labarta, and then we'll go to the public. I really want to hear from the providers too.
Yeah, I think one of the things we ought to do then is support the providers in applying this method. There is a self-assessment that you can do as an organization that involves your leadership and board that gives you a clearer picture and walks you through it. The middle of the book.
Page?
Um,
Oh, the orange part.
the orange part. The orange part in the middle of the book tells you, kind of describes what an organization looks like at each of the stages, and can be really helpful in self-assessment. And but it really is kind of a give and take. Mary can speak to this as well because she's worked with the approach. But when you get a board or a leadership team together and they can actually talk about, well, I said this because, is when you get some of the really rich discussion and consensus about where you really are. So one of the things that I would propose is that as we start to review budgets, if an organization is interested in pursuing this approach, that we help them with some funding as part of that budget in order to be able to do the selfie, to get it evaluated, to maybe work with a consultant. This is something the Center for Nonprofit Excellence is really wanting to put out into the nonprofit community in Gainesville to really strengthen it. So I think we should be a part of that and helping that be part of the budget that we would approve if they want to set aside some funding for doing the selfie, which is not free. It's not hugely expensive, even to get it with the reports, like $150 and you can get, but some consulting time on top of that can help the nonprofits then know what to do with it.
Yeah, let me add to that comment. Whether you're a startup, growth, mature, there are opportunities for you as an organization. And I think, a lot of folks, when they're starting up, they're working, in their business. And it's just really, really difficult when you're working in your business to work on your business. And so I think that's where the trust can really help in buying into this methodology and providing accountability. And so I think as talking to the providers now, as you all look at this, startup is not bad, growth is not bad, mature is not bad. Just take an honest assessment because there's opportunities in each one of those. And then what we want to do, I believe this board wants to do, and our community wants to do, is help you leverage, once you've identified that through your selfie, where are your opportunities so that we can help getting either to that next level or optimizing the level that you're currently. That would be my comment. All right, anything else from the members before we ask for the providers? Yeah, Tina.
Just wanted to suggest that in partnering with the district to get information, possibly the trust as well as the provider, work on like the data sharing agreements and that with the district for a number of years. I'm not sure the current one, but when they were at pre-COVID and several years. So that may be a really good way of getting the data, and it's not so burdensome on the organization. So.
That need to be a motion, or do you hear it? No, you got it. Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, good. All right, let's open it up to the providers or to the public now to speak to this item. You don't have to, but if you have any comments, now would be a great time for us to hear them. Bishop, he's been nominated to go first, like this is. You'll go ahead and pull that up and speak to us. Thank you.
Good afternoon again. On behalf of the Willie Mae Stokes Community Center and providers, I would like to thank you all for your investment into our programs. As for the community center, I certainly want to say thank you to Children Trust for your investment in the rural communities. Our challenges are a lot different than those that are within the city limits. There's bus routes, there's all of those other services. But out in rural Micanopy, we are dependent mostly upon the bus system, the school bus. And so sometimes our kids get there on time. Sometimes our kids get there just in time to get off the bus to meet their parent to go home. And so I think that when we're looking at after school, we also need to look at the amount of time that they're there. We're talking about doing a lot with a little bit of time. When you get them out of school, coming to after school, and then seeing it as I'm in school again. And so those are some of the challenges that I think that we're looking at after school in totality, but we're really only looking at maybe about 3-4 hours tops, depending on when their parents get there. And so I look at, on behalf of where we are, the amount of work and the response from our students. Even with the elementary, you were talking about the programs that we offer for them. It may not be captured in the data that she's capturing for middle school, but those students are still getting those opportunities. And so the other thing that I wanted to kind of tag on is that it was a question: is that how do we get the book? And then how do we, because I think for some of us, the mature and all of that was kind of first time hearing that. And so I think that was a part of the question, is that, and I see it turning red. So yeah. Oh, 30 seconds. Okay. Merry Christmas. Thank you. Yeah, Thanksgiving. Yeah.
When we're done with all, you can address them. Yep. Next speaker. We'll address that question. How do we get the book? I know the name is on, but.
Hi there, I'm Christy Arrington, Executive Director of Girls Place, and echo Bishop Stokes in a lot of ways. Incredibly grateful for the funding, very grateful for the grace. I think what we don't talk about often is how much we as administrators are in the program. And I think that we have areas to grow there, but I can also tell you that those of us in the room aren't going to say no to a child who needs us. And so that sometimes looks like not being on time with things. It also looks like the child today who actively said, I already did spelling in school, I did reading in school, I shouldn't have to do this. And that's coming off of a 30-minute conversation I had with her last week. And oftentimes we do journal quite a bit at Girls Place. And when the kids are frustrated with me, then I turn the journal topic into, tell me why you hate journal. And then I turn the journal back around to them and I show them the words that they're misspelling, the lack of grammar, or just in general not understanding sentence structure. And so it does frustrate them. And so it is a lot on us to make it fun, make it engaging, to be able to show them that it is helping them and not harming them by being an extension of the school day. And I like the opportunity to be more connected to the school system so that we're using similar language. We've asked for that for a long time from the school system so that we can piggyback and so that our kids know that we're talking to your teachers, we're talking to your parents, because it's much more impactful if we're all on the same page and the kids know that we're all on the same page for them. So again, appreciate the grace, appreciate the funding. And again, if you're driving down 39th Avenue, please stop by. I promise I will not give you the tour, the kids will, but stop by and see our programs in action. I think it's much more meaningful to meet our kids directly and to piggyback on all the work that Bonnie and Amy do through all the analysis and statistics.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. My name is Allison Marks. I'm the Executive Director of Kids Count. Risking sounding redundant, but thank you sincerely, every person in this room, both trust, the board members of the trust, other providers, because we really do lean on each other, just to express the sincere thanks that everyone in this room puts into each and every component, be it after school, summer camp, the doula program, gun violence, it all comes together. I want to echo also what Christy said about our ability to be connected. As an administrator, before I was here today, I helped with snack and I was in the classroom. Right before I stood up, tickets fell out of my pocket. These are our behavior support intervention. So if anyone would like a ticket for sitting in their seat and raising their hand, I would be more than happy to do that. And remember, when you get to 25, it's treasure box. So just to say, really and truly, thank you all. Kids Count has been in the community for 18 years now, and I've been honored to lead this organization for the last 3. I want to share also what Christy said of please come by and see the wonderful work we're doing with your support. We're doing literacy, we're doing math homework, we're doing enrichment, we're talking about good touch, bad touch. We're having members like Gainesville Circus came and did a performance for Kids Count last Friday, and the pictures are so precious. So sincerely, thank you. Grateful to be here, grateful to be included as a partner in this work.
I can get the public comment of the day with the delivery of the ticket.
Yeah. Something next time.
Next speaker for.
What's the missing need? What's driving the behavior?
I'll be losing these quickly.
We don't take them back.
Note, continue to have member Chance monitor, sit next to Commissioner Pincus. Yeah, all right, next speaker.
Hey there, everyone. My name's Izzy. I'm the assistant director at the Gainesville Circus Center. I'd like to say thank you to everyone for all your support that you've given Circus. I feel that the children are blossoming in ways, growing in confidence that I think is really, truly unique. And I'd like to say after our after school convening this August, was it August that we met up together? Oh my goodness. I really feel that this year I've had a lot more connectivity in between programs, and that's been really exciting. So just to bring that to the board, I really feel that we're starting to create this interconnected web of providers, which is really exciting. And I'm excited to continue to grow more on that and do more with my peers. And I wanted to say that Circus is super excited for all of you to come next Thursday. The kids have been working very hard. There's going to be juggling and stilting and all sorts of fun. So please come out and see what we've been working hard to do. I had one question for Bonnie that I think might enlighten some of us about the numbers, the total numbers at the end of the year. When we're looking at total number of students served, I've felt that with when I'm reporting data, if I have a child that's been here for 3 years, they count as one. But if I have a scholarship spot that's turned over 3 times, then that's 3 more students, right? That adds to the total number of students served. Right. Mhm. Yeah. So that could be something as well to consider for the board, that the turnover, if the numbers are higher, it could be that there's a lot more turnover in scholarship spots, and it's not necessarily a bad thing that I have 15 scholarship spots and there's been no turnover, at all during the year, versus I could have 25, but then that means there's been a lot of in and out. So something.
Thanks, Izzy.
Yeah.
All right, next speaker. On up.
Hi, I'm Kristen Kozlowski-Reed from Pace Center for Girls. We were not a provider, but I just wanted to talk about a couple of things as you plan for the next iteration of this. So one thing, there are not a lot of teenagers, middle school and high school participants, and that's where we specialize, middle and high school. And a lot of our girls may not have received all of the support that they needed when they were younger, and that doesn't mean that that support should drop off at this point in their lives. Another thing is that we are two basically arms of what we do are academics and then social emotional development, counseling, therapy, all of that. The problem is though, for these programs is that we're not after school. We operate during the school day. So the after school boundary does not apply to us. We do things after school, but that's when we do art club and cosmetology club and ceramics, all the fun stuff. So I would just put that out there as a consideration. And then the last piece is that we don't charge. Everything we do is free, but that doesn't mean that it's free to operate the business. So I also understand that these are scholarship based. So we do track, obviously, the number of girls we serve in a year, and we have a certain goal and all of these things. So I'm just putting it out there as potential to maybe consider some other options. And I know that we are pretty unique in what we do, but I know we're not the only ones that do this. And we are tied in with the school board. And yeah, so we can track everything in the same way that they do, and our grades and everything get reported through them. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Close that. Marcia, did you have any comments?
So the plan is to ensure that all of our providers receive a book. So we will be reaching out to you about that. Additionally, we are talking with a provider to do some of the work of walking with you all through the process. So a lot of what Maggie just mentioned in terms of having the trust pay for a facilitator or someone to work with you, we just have to figure out a timeline ourselves, and then we're going to roll it out to you all. So it's coming. We just got our books last week.
Just got it today. Any other comments from the board? I want to speak to our staff. Page 186 of the presentation. So who are the children served? And this is going to speak right to Commissioner Pinkerson's point. average age of youth served is 9 years old. Average age. So that's 9 years old is third and fourth. Black and African Americans are 64%. Now that's across elementary, middle, and high. Data tells us 2 out of 3 African Americans are not reading at grade level. We heard 2 providers talk about that. My moonshot is that we build into our systems that when the providers identify kids that are not at grade level, no matter the color, but specifically, we know we have a problem with African Americans. They are tied right into the school system, and those kids get help with peak literacy or whatever program the school system helping, so that that extra help, those extra resources are helping our providers, and then our providers are helping our kids. I'm at a place on the board, and I think the trust is at a place where we can start to make those connections. Now that we're starting to have that data, and that's how you teach a kid how to read that couldn't read. Life changes across the board for the entire family, not just the child. So, and that also is an opportunity. My favorite picture, I do love the Girls Place picture, but my favorite picture was the Willie Mae Stokes picture. Because it's. Because I see the whole family, and we're gonna have a competition on who's got the best picture next year. Anyways, I just wanted to make that point, and I know we've talked about it. So anyways, all right, that's it for after school program results. All right, let's move on to our second opportunity for general public comment. Is there anyone that hasn't spoken or that has spoken but wants to address something different? Come on forward, give us your thoughts, introduce yourself.
Hello, Christy Arrington again. I want to put a Teens Work Alachua person on blast. If you watched TV 20 News last week, Essence Davis was awarded Scholar Athlete of the Week. And gratefully, she worked for us this summer, and we are ready for volleyball to end so we can drag her back in as an employee. So if you know Essence or connect with the TeenWorks Alachua staff, please make sure to give her the kudos she deserves.
Awesome.
She is. And if you look at the East Side team, you can thank Girls Place as well, because every one of those children came through our volleyball program.
Essence was on the stage too, as.
She did incredible. Yeah.
As a panelist, and I had an opportunity to write her a letter from the county, so. Essence, amazing, yeah, amazing. All right, anyone else? Okay, close that up. We'll now move to board member comments. We'll start from my right. Got anything? No? Anything? Great meeting.
One thing, Mr. Chair, Judge Bullard, you expressed some concern about the gun violence, or you asked for the letter previously. And honestly, the only reason I'm asking is that I need your leadership on that, because obviously you see, you see the results, obviously with what you do. So, I didn't ask any questions today because I was kind of honestly deferring to you, because you had that experience and I don't. So going forward, as we get more information, please enlighten us as to what you're seeing. Because I think that's going to be very insightful as far as, how we proceed. So thank you.
Response to that, I think I'll just reiterate what I've indicated at the previous meetings. And, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I can certainly tell you that I'm seeing it on a weekly basis. And we have to be careful to, distinguish or differentiate between gun violence and possession of firearms, because that is equally as problematic. We have a lot of guns in the hands of juveniles, and sound like a broken record, but it was the exception years ago and not anymore. It is an ongoing, continuing.
Thank you, Chris. Got anything there?
I think my word for this meeting is connectivity. I've heard and seen a lot of really mature connectivity organization and providers. to think that we could possibly be on the brink of after-school people or feeling like they have a direct line to a child's teacher to know what's happening with reading and have a full court press on that issue and on that child is really like the brink of systemic change. That's a big deal. I remember the report out from, I think it was the after-school providers when you brought everybody together in July of last year, right? Isn't that what you just referenced? And seeing providers connect and having you all collaborate with one another and not see each other as collaborators is a really positive growth area. Last, I'll go back to that conversation on childcare last week. You know, you have the president of the Florida Chamber there, the Children's Movement of Florida there. So we were connecting statewide, big conversations with local providers and elevating the conversation, this giving people a chance to connect on that complicated issue. I just think those are all very positive growth things. So staff, the providers, and to you, Marcia.
Judge, you got anything? Tina, you got
Response to what Judge Bullard said, I'm thinking let's connect with the gun violence group, Moms Demand Action, to do some education. Rick sends out something at the beginning of the school year reminding parents to firearms and ammunition of children, and they bring them to school because, you know, we had a couple of those over the past couple of school years with parents leaving guns in backpacks. So maybe there could be some kind of yeah, we had one at Oakview where a parent had a child, he put the gun in the backpack and this child didn't know and brought the backpack to school, and there was one at Meadowbrook. Those are two I can remember. I think there's a third one, but I can't remember the school. But the little girl at Meadowbrook, I remember that one, so because she opened her backpack and she actually took it to the teacher. And so that was, yeah, so that was a parent error, I mean, a grown-up error that they did that. Yes, and so the other thing is leaving the gun in there. So maybe that's something that we partner.
That's the biggest issue at this point.
Yeah, the unlocked cars, and maybe, so that might be a connector, with, Member Chance mentioned the word connectivity, and maybe us connecting with them on some kind of PR type thing, I don't know, kids, adults, I don't know, maybe that's something there. And I would like to just say, so I never saw the after-school providers as competitors. They, to me, are after-school providers because of Boost. They seem to be the most organized. Like they were like kind of leading us from the start. I don't know if you guys remember that. They were.
Oh, I remember it.
The Boost group. The Boost group. So it is good to see them come, but I am most proud of us kind of coming. Maybe we've turned the curve in a sense of the investments that we're making in the organizations, keeping them being more than just a safe space that we can start impacting positively the academic outcomes of our students. But really, the safety is really good. I'm thinking if we can help parents with childcare, because I'm hearing like what that is, and if we can get some space in that. I didn't know about the childcare that Mary Member Chance keeps referring to, but I'm thinking that's a good thing because that's something crazy. And lastly, I hope that this goes well. I will miss it. The first time in a number of years, I'll be away at an insurance meeting. So I hope that this goes well. I think it's a real good event. I've enjoyed it the last couple times that I've attended. I like being there with the kids and taking part in the activities. So, but I'm sure at the Circus Center, it's going to be quite an event.
I wanted to follow up on Member's certain comment about the child care, because there is a correlation there, because oftentimes I hear parents speaking the fact that they need the older child at home to care for the children. They don't want them to go to a program because they need them at home, or help with the grandparent or who's in the home, or another relative, elderly relative, or the young children in the home. So there's a direct correlation.
And it's not just the program, it's actually, we're seeing it impact school attendance.
Sure.
I saw it during COVID and I didn't believe it. I mean, not that I didn't believe it, it's just I wasn't aware of it. But since COVID, I have intimately acquainted with the absenteeism, like reasons for absenteeism when you're asking students. So you get a preteen or a teenage girl or young man who's staying on to watch a sibling during the day, and then when the adult comes, they're like out unsupervised or just like I got some freedom, and then they're not making good choices. So this thing is really like we can invest, and I'm glad that we have this tax. I am. I think our investments have got to be kind of to get to root causes, because if we just keep treating symptoms, there's never going to be enough money to treat symptoms and to make an impact. We've got to get to some sectors where we can focus in and solve something, dig this thing up by the root, and won't save everybody, but we can make a really big dent in it. I think we're better off. That's why, you know, the take stock is good, but like with peak literacy, before they became funded by us, I was walking over in Southeast Gainesville trying to connect because we couldn't get the district to help give her info and to connect with the parents, but getting the parents to connect, because if we can get these kids where they're reading on grade level, they have some success, school isn't a chore.
Yep.
And they matriculate through school. Workforce Development League is getting a job. Coming out of school, you're going to either be, my view is you're going to be enrolled in college, enlisted in the military, or employed. I call it EQ. One of those three paths. So workforce development, we provide you some opportunities, get some job training where you have a skill, we can go to work. So we want our kids to have that. But so many of the programs, even at Santa Fe, as good of an institution as it is, if the students can't read and pass those foundational courses or placement tests, they can't, they're blocked from an opportunity.
That's right, moonshot. Keep saying moonshot. Marcia, do you want to go over 16, 17, 18, 19? And then Katura, for future agendas, let's move our board comments to after information items. That way, if anything comes up in the information items, then we can.
Oh, no, we have the town hall. Town hall's coming up on September 17th. We had the community literacy collaborative expert gathering. That's what I was referring to earlier. Talked about everything that they're doing countywide. Actually, they did a great job. I texted Dr. Patton to tell her how wonderful her team was in answering questions. I think Allison, was it you, was like, I have more questions. And we were able to get our folks, our after school folks tied in with them at that strategic plan update. The staff had a session with our strategic facilitators. They are coming back Monday because we did not have enough time to finish, but we are at all goals, thinking about our indicators, so that when we meet with you all next month, you will be able to see done. We will have some questions for you.
When is that too? When are we meeting?
November 12:30.
12:30 till 3:30, and then we have a board meeting at 4. So members, our homework, I wanted to just point out pages 220 through 222. That was what we had asked staff to kind of look at. If y'all will just make sure you put your eyes on that before 12:30 on November 10th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our work, so.
Molly's got fresh eyes looking at all this too.
You will probably receive an update from that. That's what we were able to do on that. That's what we covered that day.
This says,
Yes, it is 12:30.
okay, so this,
That is incorrect. That was the time we had initially, but we decided we needed more time. than
okay.
you.
I just want to make sure I end up with the right time on my
Yeah.
calendar.
Everybody got that? November 10th, 12:30 to 3:30.
City of Gainesville shared with us their year-end review. I thought I would share it with you. And then there were some questions about the handouts from the cities back in August, and we provided that as well.
Okay, thank you, Marcia. Next meeting dates will be, as she just said, Monday, November 10th, 12:30 to 3:30. Board meeting will follow. And if there is nothing else, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you all.